right, so good morning once again, and welcome to another football talk. In this episode, I have the opportunity to have Mr. Keith Look Loy. Um, I always like to give people's credentials so that people are aware of the caliber of people that we speak into. So he was former U20 and U17 coach. He was a coach at Mali Comprehensive, Santa Rosa coach, FIFA development officer for CONCACAF, FIFA technical study group member, CONCACAF technical committee member, TTFA technical committee chairman, TT Super League president, and also he was a board member for TTFA at one point. So again, where now as we are looking more into football and understanding where some of the challenges with our current football is, that I don't think based on that qualification, I don't think there's anybody better to help me at this point to kind of understand our football than Mr. Keith. So thank you so much for your time and remarks if you have any.
Well, Marcus, thank you very much. First of all, for the invitation, for extending the invitation. I do appreciate it. Um, and I also want to compliment you because I also do believe that there must be very few people, if anyone at all, within the TTFA thinking in these um, long-term directions that you tend to think in, right?
Right.
If we don't prepare now for the World Cups following on the next one, specifically those that you have highlighted, being 30, 34, 38, and in football, the furthest away is 13 years from now. That is a long time in football.
Right.
But it is in that kind of long-term manner that we have to proceed with business. So the planning, you're right, the planning for the 20 38 World Cup must begin now. So
Yes.
I thank you for the opportunity to discuss it.
Sure, sure. And I definitely appreciate your time. And I would go through the question that I sent you. I would read it through and then we could take it from there.
Mhm.
So I said, if you are given Trinidad and Tobago football now and told to make sure we have a team that would qualify for 2030, 2034, 2038, money not being an issue, what initiatives would you implement and what are some plans to bring back Trinidad and Tobago football to a respectable class?
Well, money is the key to everything, right?
True, true.
Because you could have the finest plans if you don't have the money, you can't implement them. Conversely, you could have all the money in the world if you don't have a proper plan, then you're just spending, you're not investing. So
And I think
this.
I think honestly that is kind of where we at right now.
Yes.
Because when I said money is not an issue, I know we have money, we have people who invest in the football, but are we getting any type of return or are we, as you say, investing in the football?
Absolutely. So, the starting point for any enterprise or any, by when I say enterprise, I don't necessarily limit that to an organization. I mean, any activity, even
Mhm.
the smallest of events in your village. If you don't have a proper plan, you don't know what directions you want to go in. More so, you don't know how you're going to get there. You have no roadmap.
Yeah.
The people who are in charge, you can't hold them accountable. You don't know what resources you need.
Hmm.
And therefore, the starting point for the kind of project that you are talking about, a 13-year project starting today with all the money that we might need,
Yeah.
it requires a proper strategic plan. Yes, where do we want to go? What are the resources we need? What is the roadmap to get there? Who is going to take us there? How are we going to hold these people accountable for what they do or don't do?
Right.
And you have over the course of the period, whether it be 4 weeks for a village FET or a 13-year plan to ensure that we have a reliable assembly line to consistently put us in the running, at least, if not actually, in the three World Cups to come,
Mm-hmm.
leading into 2038. The TTFA doesn't have that. The TTFA doesn't have that. The TTFA doesn't have a plan for
Right.
this World Cup. If I am to believe what I read in the newspapers, a quotation from the mouth of the president, Mr. Edwards, just prior to the kickoff of the Gold Cup campaign, he was quoted in the newspapers as saying that they had already received a commitment for $2 million US, that is from the PNM government,
Right.
and that from the new incoming government or the newly installed government, they need another 9 million US, because at the time they made the request, to quote him, we didn't know what we was getting into. That is a quote from the president. We
Right.
didn't know what we was getting into. So that leads me to believe that we started the World Cup campaign and we didn't know where we were going. We
Right.
didn't know what we intended to do to get there.
Right.
We didn't have an idea of how much it would cost. And therefore, if that is the case, no one is to be held responsible. So I am convinced that the starting point for such an important exercise must be the creation of a strategic development plan for how we want to move our national teams, plural, not just the men's team,
Yeah.
but all the national teams forward, because the boys who will be playing in 2030, 34, 38 in particular are the boys who are representing us right now in Aruba, the under 15 team.
Mm.
2034, 2038, they will be 24, 28 years old.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
2038, these are players who now should be entering the prime, 28,
Yeah.
starting to enjoy the best years. We don't start dealing with them in 2027.
Mm.
We start dealing with them now.
Yes.
So that there has to be a roadmap of how we want to move them forward. But you see, I want to make an even more fundamental point. One or a football association cannot have a strategic plan to move its national teams forward if it doesn't have a strategic development plan for itself, for its entire operation.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? Because the success of that team, that money is no problem scenario that you have posed, means that the money has to come from somewhere.
Yes. All right. So you could go ahead and continue there, Keith.
Right. So the point I'm making then is that there has to be an overarching plan for the association as a whole, because the different aspects of association operation, they complement each other. There's no money without marketing, and if
Yeah.
there's no money, we don't have this scenario, or even half of the scenario, or whatever percentage of the scenario of money is no problem. So we can't do anything with the teams. But let us not forget that we're not only talking about 20, 30, 34, 38 and the men. We have women's football. We have a youth football. All of these World Cups, which are 2 years apart in the case of junior football, youth football. We have the women's World Cups. We have the Olympic Games tournaments for the women's, a second World Cup, in other words. So effectively, they have a world tournament every 2 years to qualify for. So all of this requires money, and each one of these teams requires a plan.
Yes.
So and a very detailed plan. Otherwise, we operate in, and again, to quote the president, we don't know what we're getting into.
Hmm.
All right. That's the first point, or point 1A and B. The second point I want to make is that no serious football association, certainly not one as small as ours, with limited resources, human and financial and otherwise, infrastructure and so on, could effectively plan to achieve anything meaningful without a functional and effective technical committee. There must be, let me use those two words again, a functional and effective technical committee. Right now, we have a technical committee. I don't even know who is on it, what their role is. the president, who is the chief administrator, or the man in charge of the entire administration, is also the chairman, it is said, of the technical committee. But that is not a satisfactory arrangement. Let me just leave it at that, right? If we are to go forward and we are to devise a proper technical plan for the association, including a plan for all of the national teams over the next 5, 10, 15 years, including the 3 World Cups you have identified, then a functional and an effective technical committee must be at the helm of that exercise, the development of this plan, and it must have personnel within itself that have experience in the world of football, who understand what is required in modern football, and who have the contacts to reach out to people who could make serious input into such a plan. So that would be my second point, right? Or let me recap. I used to be a teacher, and I considered myself a good one.
Right.
And coaching is teaching. So I like to recap every so often. We need an overarching strategic plan for the association as a whole. That's the umbrella. Underneath that umbrella, we need a strategic technical development plan. Under the umbrella of that, we need a strategic national teams development plan for all of our teams. And guiding the development of these plans and the implementation of these plans, we need to have a functional and effective technical committee with good people on it. Now, we could talk about such a plan for the next 2 days. But I have some bullet points. So if you see me looking down, it's to refer to my notes, right? Because I want it to be comprehensive. I don't want to leave anything out. And I'm not going to be making these points necessarily in order of priority, but bullet points. These are some of the elements of such a development plan for our national teams. What do we need to do? What is the roadmap? How do we get to the point where we know we have a reliable product, meaning players, to put us in the mix to qualify for every World Cup?
Yeah.
All right. So having said all of that, that's on the administrative side, overall administration and technical administration, right? But on the floor, on the ground, we're talking about, first of all, I believe, and this is not rocket science, these are things that have been done before. We just have not been consistent. And every time we get a new administration, and we haven't had many, but when administrations change in the TTFA, we like to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So what them was doing, we ain't going and do that too. And we just throw everything out. And then too much of the time, nothing is brought in to replace what was tossed out. But we need to have we need to have good national competitions for youth. I'm not talking about the Republic Cup.
Right.
The Republic Cup is doing yeoman, and the people who run it, they're doing yeoman service. They're keeping youth club football alive.
Right.
For 3 months, is it, of the year. And I'm surely not talking about the secondary schools league, which is a recreational league. They're also doing, and that is controversial, but I hold to that point. I've been involved in in Trinidad and Tobago football at a national level for over 50 years, and I was a player in the schools league and a coach, and I've always held to that point. The secondary schools league is a recreational league for the boys in the school and girls in the school who like to play football. You cannot build your World Cup dreams or materialize your World Cup dreams on the basis of schools football. We could get into that later if you so wish. That could be an entirely different program.
Right.
That could be an entirely different program, right? But I will hold to that. But we need to have vibrant youth club competitions. This could include the club in the E zone or the Tobago zone that is the village club, or some youth club from a community, or it could be the as it used to be. Also, it could also include and should also include the youth clubs from the various levels of what is called elite football in the country today. And let me underline that, what is called elite football. Because the elite football we had in the country as we about to go fight in the final round for World Cup qualification in 2025, the TT Premier League Tier 1, bears no relationship almost to the elite football that we had in the country in 2005. That's just 20 years ago.
20.
The TT Pro League was the top level of our elite football. And in those days, the best clubs in the TT Pro League, Joe Public, what do you call them? CL Financial, Samoa Jablote, W Connection, used to play in CONCACAF Champions League, would sometimes get a good result abroad, and surely would be chasing a good result when teams came here. I was involved in the foundation of Joe Public.
Right.
I was coaching Joe Public. I was technical director in Joe Public, right? And in those days, Joe Public had many international players, and I'll come back to that later, from Trinidad and Tobago and foreign countries within CONCACAF, and would play on the CONCACAF Champions League stage. No guarantees of a win, but we would compete. I remember going to see Joe Public beat people in Hisley Crawford Stadium in CONCACAF Champions League.
Right.
So that level of elite football has nothing to do what passes for elite football in Trinidad and Tobago today. But we need to recreate, or to create, if you will, a situation where all of these top clubs have a youth system, a nursery. This is not rocket science, in which their teams will play, in which they will bring forward the best young talents that they can put their hands on, which would feed into national teams. But in the regions as well, you have your community clubs or what have you. They are playing at their level, all feeding into a national youth league that would link to the regional leagues on the basis of promotion and relegation. So all the best young talents across the country would be looking to get into some regional youth club or some youth side from a big club in the country to fight for their place in the sun based on merit, because football is supposed to be based, sport is supposed to be based on merit. Yes, I fundamentally believe that. So that's it, and this is girls and boys. Male and female. This is what we need to do. Now, having said that, it means that the obvious corollary from that is that we also need to improve what passes for elite football in the country today. What we have today does not suffice. Let me put it in charitable terms. Yes, and we cannot go into the future hoping that the government will pass a law which gives a passport to somebody who's had one grandparent from Trinidad and a mother from Trinidad, or what have you. That is no basis for long-term success. If you get such people, that's great.
Yeah.
But no serious footballing nation could want or should want to build its future success without ensuring that its domestic competitions, youth and elite, are solid and progressive.
Right.
We cannot do it otherwise, right? And when I wonder sometimes at what is the thinking of the people who run the football, because I remember I was astonished that the TT Premier League Cup final was played virtually at the same time when Trinidad and Tobago was playing USA in its first match in the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
That to me, that is an insight into the priority that they give to our domestic competitions. All they had to do was postpone that by a day. But if you can't even see the need to do that, is it any wonder that TT Pro League matches, as a general rule, don't draw any crowd? Right? That the players and you know, the players have no incentive, even people looking at them, to play, right? That there are no gate receipts to feed into the monies that they get from the government, from the ministries, as the case might be. What is the financial foundation? What is the cultural foundation of our elite football? And feeding downwards from that, what is the basis on which the youth football in these clubs has to stand? So that would be my, I guess, my third point, right? I might be rambling a little bit, but I have a whole lot that I could see. That would be my third point. Okay, so the domestic competitions, male and female, adult and junior, starting at the top level, feeding down into the regional teams, or the zone, sorry, and linked to the regions and zones by way of promotion and relegation.
Yeah.
This is what is going to bring youth talent into the fold, under the umbrella, for us to look at. Forgive me, I'm looking down on my at my nose, and for those who looking on, who watching it, please forgive me. Now, so we have youth competitions.
Right.
We have youth competitions. They run. And I'll tell you this: we once had a national youth league in Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, we had more than one. The Pro League had theirs, right? Joe Public under this and under that would play Jablote under this and under that, etc., etc.
Yeah.
That's the nursery system.
Yeah.
I was in charge of Joe Public in those days. You would take a boy and say, okay, he's an under 16, but you know, he's showing promise. We'll take him now, and you know, we'll give him a chance to play in the under 18 or the under 20. Let's see how he comes. You will take a under 8. I did that when I was in charge. We have an under 18 player, and we say, okay, let's move him to train with the senior team.
Mm-hmm.
Where he training every day with Dwarika and Sid Gray, you know what I mean, and Derek King, and so on and so forth. Rubbing shoulders with them in the locker room with them, maybe getting a chance to play on now and then. Yeah, he's 16, he's 17. I did that in my own club, Santa Rosa. Dwayne Muckett is my favorite example. Andre Rampasad. They came through my club, and we were, you know, I gave them the debut in Super League. It was then National Super League, coming over into TT Super League. I threw them in at 16.
Yeah,
these boys were not playing intercol at 16. They were playing with big men and doing well and standing out in the Super League and playing in what was then the Toyota Cup against, you know, the top 8 teams in the Super League, against the top 8 teams in the Pro League. And I was tossing in the 16-year-olds and giving them the chance and blooding them and giving them the chance to shine today. They graduated out of that system within my own club. They didn't play no intercall.
Right.
All right. That leads me then. So the talent is coming in. We're creating the scenario, or we're going along with the building the scenario that you have envisioned.
Yeah.
Which is correct. So they're coming into the clubs. Who is seeing them? At the regional level and at the national level, we need to create not permanent membership for anybody, but permanent panels of selectors. In other words, a national talent identification program.
Okay.
Now you'll remember, which seems like a lifetime ago in football, United TTFA, of which I was a member, got rid of David John Williams and created an administration that lasted for short of 3 months. And then FIFA invaded. And then the occupation normalization committee took over.
Right.
I like to call them that. That was, in my political perspective, and I speak frankly, was the period of occupation. That's how I see it.
Right. Yeah.
But we very quickly, I was chairman of the, and I ain't looking for work. I'm not looking for any comeback.
Right, 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 right.
My days in as an official of Trinidad and Tobago football are over. But I was chairman of the technical committee, and we created a strategic plan, and we created positions that had accountability to implement the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the institutions under that plan that we created was a national talent identification program
Right.
that would be stocked with people at regional level, but also at national level, whose job it would be, these were to be paid positions, stipend, not full-time work,
Yeah, yeah.
stipend, to go about and across the land looking at football from village to Hazley Crawford Stadium, looking at young players play.
Mm-hmm.
And not only calling them in, for we having a trial in Arima Savannah at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. Come, bring a white jersey and a red jersey. And then they come, a boy didn't eat for the day, and he comes and you give him 20 minutes and he didn't do so good, and they say, okay, we have no use for him, and you move and you forget about him. When you don't know this boy problems at home, when that boy should be seen over and over and over and over in his natural habitat,
Yeah, yeah.
in his natural environment, playing for his village side or what have you, it's cool too. And you could form a long-term assessment of that boy and decide, do we want to pursue him? Do we want to bring him in to the national level now, into a national pool where we could begin to develop him?
Mm-hmm.
Because you would also have a regional pool. I'll
Yeah.
tell you this. I was the TTFA youth development officer back in the early 90s. This 30 years ago.
Right.
It's not rocket science, brother. It's not rocket science. I did that back then. We had something called the Center for Excellence Program, where in each of the regions, north, south, east, Port of Spain, and so on and so forth, we had an ongoing screening program. We had pools of players who were training on a weekly basis. I wrote the syllabus that was to be implemented. I still have copies somewhere
Oh,
in my library. I still have copies of that, right? It's a 30-year-old syllabus. It could still apply today. You make some changes to modernize it.
yeah.
But good coaching is good coaching in any era. And a good syllabus is a good syllabus,
Mm.
right? So all the coaches in that program who were paid had to implement the syllabus. We were not telling them everything to do each day, but we were telling them these are the topics and the areas that you have to cover over the duration of the training for this term, which begins on this date and ends on that date.
Okay. Okay.
And you supplement it with your own exercises, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
And they would play against each other, blah, 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 blah. I see, okay, to be fair, they're doing some of that today, right? But nothing along the line that we did. We had paid people, and this went on all year. And
Okay.
out of that program, we got a large number of national team players of that era,
Mm-hmm.
right? Travis Mulrain, Stokely, Mason, Stern, John, etc., 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 came out of that program. It's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
We had under 13, 15, etc., 17, etc., etc. So we need to have a talent identification program where people wake up in the morning thinking, I have to go Mayaro today, or I have to go Toko today to look at this boy, because Mayaro, I'm creating names. There used to be a team called Mayaro Spurs. Mayaro Spurs is playing against, Rio Claro Youths or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see, I hear they have I'm going to see what they have. And in any event, there's a good little forward. He's 15 years old. His name is such and such. I'm going to look at him. And then after you've seen him 4 times, go and look at him again. And be making recommendations to the regional level and the national level to bring this boy in, this girl in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And being open to people saying, listen, I have look at this video of this boy. He play you don't know him, but he plays under 17 for Rio Claro Spurs. Take a look at him.
Yeah.
And that's their job. Yes. So that's the next point. The search for talent. But alongside that, One of the things we did in the, I'll call it that, the United TTFA Technical Committee, using my contacts abroad, we created an international talent identification program.
Right, right,
Right,
right.
we set up a structure, not just some, my son born in America, I just live in Atlanta, and he good, and when you look at him, okay, we could have that, but we set up a structure using Trinidad and Tobago, and I hope that those who have influence in the TTFA today look at this program.
Yep. Hope so too.
We set up a structure using Trinidad and Tobago coaches living abroad, and coaches who have Trinidad and Tobago links living abroad in the United States, in Britain, etc.,
Yeah.
to look for boys and girls, men and women who have that link in a structured way,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
so that we know that in the New York area we have somebody in charge, and he has a panel of coaches under him or her
Hmm.
who is in who is on the ground, and we could say, okay, what we have in New York, what
Hmm.
we have in Atlanta, what do we have in Greater Manchester, what do we have in Toronto or Ontario, etc., etc., etc. A structured program.
Wasn't that I'm trying to remember Noah Powder's father name.
Sean,
Powder.
Sean was one, and another good comrade, Justin Reed, right?
Right.
These are Trinidad and Tobago born people who are involved in United States football,
Hmm.
soccer, as they call it there, who helped us put this program together. The United TTFA administration, maybe I'm veering off the topic a little bit here, but we sent one team into the field, women's under 20,
Hmm.
CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. It was played in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. We quickly put a team into training, and we started the search for North American girls, Canada and the United States, using that overseas program,
Hmm.
talent identification program, as we called it, right?
Yeah.
And those guys set to work, really set to work, right? And we quickly appointed a staff, and that team started to train on Christmas Eve,
Oh.
2019.
Yeah.
Richard Hood was the coach, right? Richard Hood is a guy who I worked with um, when we hosted the 2011 Women's World Cup. I was involved with the national team that we put into the field for that tournament,
Hmm.
the women's under 17. So when we went in there and we knew we had this tournament, I said Richard Hood. He was the assistant to the Norwegian coach that we had brought in,
Right.
right? And that team started to train on Christmas Eve 2019. We put that team quickly. We found the money. The CTFA was broke. We found the money. We sent that team for a 2-week camp in the Dominican Republic. The best accommodations, the best training conditions, right? The best food we could provide, etc., etc. They will have Mailing Atin Johnson. Meili Atin Johnson was the manager,
Right.
right? I went immediately to her and asked her if she wanted to do it. Had to do a little convincing. She said, okay, she came in,
Yeah.
right? That team got to the quarter final of the tournament and lost to Mexico, which went to the final.
Hmm.
Two teams qualified, the United States and Mexico. They played the final. We lost in the quarterfinal to Mexico.
Hmm.
The point I want to make is this: that if you put together a good plan, you find the right people, you find the money for them, and you give them the best resources you can provide,
Yeah.
then you have a fighting chance. We did that in 2 months, and that remains the best team in Trinidad under the umbrella of the TTFA, the best team performance of any team under the umbrella of the TTFA with the badge of the TTFA since the days of Raymond Timke, which who was the president, I should say, of the team that Meili Atin Johnson was a part of, that lost to Ecuador in the Intercontinental Playoff to go to the World Cup of 2006.
Hmm.
These are facts.
Right. Right.
Not 2006, 2007. Six was the men.
Yeah.
right? These are the facts. No team has rivaled what we did in 2 months. I ain't saying it to boast. I'm saying it to draw lessons for those who are looking at this program
Yeah. Yeah.
or this show, right? So we formed it, we get the competitions going, we fortify the top level, we bring the youths into the fold, and we set the scouts looking at them, and we give them a national and regional programs to come into and participate in on an ongoing basis. All right. Um, Here's an important point. So we're doing good stuff with the youth. Oh, and I was making the point as well. I forgive me talking too much. I could talk about this. I'm doing this 30 odd years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We once had a national youth league in Trinidad and Tobago. It was financed by FIFA money. It was a national league, including Tobago, and it was financed by FIFA, and I ran it. I was the FIFA officer for that Caribbean program. The money passed across my desk. It was run by deceased Tony Harford and All Sports Promotions. They did the actual work, but the budgeting and so on and so forth, it came across my desk. I approved every cent, and I made the accounts. I was responsible for providing the accounts to FIFA in Zurich. And believe you me, I account for every cent. People knew in that program if they wanted a paper clip, they had to account for it. They had to provide receipts for it,
Right.
etc., etc., because everything was approved in Zurich. But we had a national league, brother.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
had a national league, and that was allowed to die.
Hmm.
It was allowed to die, right? So, but I'm coming back to my notes. So if we have that running and we have the clubs now kicking again,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things we need to do, I am seeing our boys today, our top young talents. Yesterday, we read of some young player signing a contract to go play in the second division of the Northern Cyprus Elite League. Northern Cyprus. Northern Cyprus.
Rondell Winchester, I think.
Rondell Winchester. We
Yeah.
one of our top young talents. He was a top talent in years past. Rondell Winchester. I think he got a few national caps too, senior.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Going to play in the second division of the Northern Cyprus League. We just saw another youngster going off to play in the second division of Vietnam. We have men taking due respect to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
We see young talents going off to play in Antigua, going to play professional in Antigua. No disrespect. What
Right.
professional football they have in Antigua? Going to play in Jamaica, going to play in second and third tier teams in the United States, going to play in the Philippines, in the Maldives. This is where our top talents are going today. Whereas the team that qualified for 2006 had men in the English Premier League, the
Yes.
Scottish Premier League,
Mm-hmm.
MLS itself, right? What do you call it? The Swiss First Division,
Yeah.
German First Division, right? This is where we once put players. Now, if a boy gets a contract to go and play in the Maldives or to play in third division Vietnam, we clapping and saying good luck. But you know, we really have to say that because what these young men are doing is seeking an escape from the dead end that is our top football.
Hmm.
And as I said on Facebook, what day it was, I don't pay their bills. I cannot judge them. I don't buy milk for the baby. So I wish them all success. But this is where we have found ourselves. We have fallen a long way, you know, from
Yeah.
players who were playing in the English Premier League to men now who play, no disrespect, to leagues of a much lower stature and
Yeah.
standing and quality.
True. True.
So one of the things we need to do, and I'm telling you, I was involved in the foundation of Joe Public. I'll share a secret. I got a call in my office one day from Jack Warner saying, "Look, Loy," that's all he used to call me. "Look, Loy, I will start a club. Give me a proposal. And I gave him a proposal for the startup of Joe Public FC. He
Right.
called it that. But I told him, okay, here is the plan to start it up. Here's what you need. Here's what it will cost to start it, etc., etc. Comprehensive plan. Because that's one of my strengths. I ain't got boast. I could plan.
Yeah.
He started the club. That club became champion of Trinidad and Tobago, champion of the Caribbean, would go and fight up in CONCACAF Champions League and so on and so forth, right? And put players into the national teams. Again, I ain't saying these things to pat my own shoulder. I'm saying it based on my experience. This is what is required.
Yes.
This is how we got to 2006. This is how we got to 2006. Yes? But you know, one of the things that was my responsibility while I was there in Joe Public, linking with foreign clubs abroad. So Joe Public had players on loan from Mexican clubs, from Central American clubs,
Right.
from Jamaican clubs. There was a time when a top Jamaican player, international players from Haitian club, top players from these countries, in international regulars for them, would be happy to come and play in the TT Pro League. And the stellar club to come to was Joe Public FC.
Yeah.
Right? Our clubs no longer have these linkages. And I'm saying that one of the things we need to do while we're looking at, a building from below is at the very top, we need to pursue linkages between our top clubs and clubs that play in serious leagues abroad.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you this. 2 days ago in Jamaica, one of their academies, I forget the name of their academies, bought a club in Belgium.
Yeah. Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant. Okay, I didn't want to say it, but you're saying it. Mount Pleasant Academy. They bought a third division club in Belgium.
True. I saw that.
This is a club with vision. I don't know these people, although I'm familiar with a lot of people in Jamaican football. These people are not my friends. But these are people with vision, because now they have a place where they could send promising young talents out of their academy into European football.
Yes.
And there's nothing to say that this club will remain third division. If they have ambitions, they will have a plan, serious ambitions. They will have a plan to take this club over the next X years from third division Belgium for Belgian football into the Belgian Pro League, first division.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will have that plan, or they will develop one soon. And I'm saying, I don't know if our clubs are thinking along that line. There was a time, and I'm talking about 2006 World Cup in particular. I'm not here to speak on his behalf. People could have their own opinions about him and will. But one of the things Jack Warner made sure to do was to ensure that he was in touch with agents who could place our national players into clubs, serious clubs abroad. And, let me use the parlance. I ain't guessing. I'm telling you what, no. Nobody can tell me. I'm telling you what I know. He had links to agents who could put our national team players into serious clubs, where on a daily basis, training and playing, they want an environment which allowed us to have players of the quality to go to qualify for 2006 and to go there and do well. We drew the first match with Sweden. Sweden are winning our World Cup, but Sweden is not a pushover team. True. We lost, what was it, 1-0 to England?
2-0
to England. Thank you. 2-0 to England. And if they had VAR in those days, that crouch goal would not have been allowed.
True.
It would not have been allowed if they had VAR in those days. Okay, we can't rewrite history. We cannot rewrite history. But you know, I'm sure you're getting my point.
Yeah.
Build the youth in the youth organizations, meaning the leagues. Build the youth scouting. Build the youth development program. Make it consistent. Professionalize the top football in the league, the top league football in the country. They call it TT Premier League now. And build linkages to foreign football organizations that could provide exposure to your talents.
True.
I ain't no genius, but I walked this road before.
Right, 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 right.
I've walked this road before, but no administration seems willing to put it all together and apply it consistently
Hmm.
over time. This is our problem because our attention span as a people, it ain't good. It ain't good.
Right.
Right? All right. Let me continue then. One of the things we need to do within that structure that I'm proposing is to create a reserve league. This is my view, it could be a good idea, it could not be. But we need to create a reserve league where
Yeah.
the best young talents who maybe can't command a place in your top elite league side as yet, but really and truly shouldn't be playing youth football, shouldn't be playing intercol,
Hmm.
right? Which I repeat is a recreational league. It's for the boys who like to play football and have some talent, yes. Right? A reserve league that is the in between the under this and under that and the top league. So I'm talking about a league for reserve players, maybe under 21, under 2021, where the 16-year-old, no more youth, no more under this for you. You go in and play TT Premier League, reserve league, where the player who is coming back from, who is coming back from injury, rehabilitation, and so on. You put limits on it of how many of them you could use, whatever,
Yeah.
right? And that intermediate gap between the youth football and the top elite football in the country, a place where they're playing regular and gaining some experience, and they could transition. You could go from that reserve league into the top league.
Yeah.
If you play, I don't know, I call in a figure 8 games in the top league, you can't slip back down. And that kind of, if you play half the season in the reserve league, you can't continue playing. The regulations are simple to develop.
True, true. So is
But
that
a bridge,
league that we have right now?
sorry,
Not the tier two league that we have right now, or
that's a
something?
different thing entirely. That's
Okay.
for the guy. That's like second division in any country, and we have no promotion and relegation. You're fighting from promotion and relegation, but that's a separate league entirely. These
Okay.
teams, and this is for the teams of the first division, tier one,
Mm.
whatever you want to call it, who have players on the books who are playing youth football, but some of them are too good for that and they need a bridge to the top side. So you give them the bridge. The bridge is a reserve league where players who are injured, as I'm saying, from the top side and are rehabilitating and coming back. And the best boys, as an example, or a new player who you're coming in and you're building his fitness. They just bought a new player or what have you. And that bridge from youth football to top tier football that would also serve the needs not just of the youth who is too good for that
Mm-hmm.
age group football below, but the one who is in your club but is not a regular. He didn't play on the weekend in the first division schedule. He didn't play the weekend before that. He didn't play before that. And the best thing is match fitness. You could train how much you want. Match fitness. So we say, you know what? This Wednesday, we're going to play him in the reserve league.
Okay. 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 I understand now. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
A bridge that serves the need of the top side,
Yeah.
but also serves the need of the young players in the club
Who
and
trans?
bridge them into the top side.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Right. So we providing what? The sports theorists and the sports academicians, they like
Mhm.
to talk about it. So we create a pathway for them.
Right.
A
Right. Right.
pathway that is consistent, that is reliable.
Hmm.
Yes, second division football, tier two, that's a different thing. They have their own thing going on.
Okay.
They're not taking part in that. You could always transfer a player in from a second division club and do that for you. Now, the second division club, their youth team could be playing in the regional league.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody fight for the place in the sun. Right? So I don't know. Give me a tier club. San Fernando Giants
Yeah.
is a tier 2 team. So they have the under 13, the 15, the 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever it is, and they're fighting up in the regional leagues, and they have their youth system going. Now, if AC Porter Spain see a young boy in San Fernando Giants that they like, under 14 player, then like in every football um, um, environment across the globe, then they
Yeah.
look to recruit that boy.
True. True. True.
They look to recruit the boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but that's how it goes across the globe. All right. I don't want to ride the nerves of your viewers too much. Okay. A key part of that is primary schools, because this is where, on any given day,
Mm-hmm.
certainly of the school term, we have the largest aggregation of under 12, 13-year-old boys and
Yeah.
girls, the
True.
largest across the country. One of the things we did when I was there as the technical committee chairman, we created the position of national director for grassroots and youth competition.
Mm-hmm.
What's grassroots? Grassroots is just that all the grassroots football all across the country is not elite football. It's
Yeah.
not the organized youth football. It's grassroots. So the little village football is the primary schools and so on and so forth, and so forth, right? And what the plan was to organize, you said we have all the money we need to pay people whose job it would be, and this is to be done of course in collaboration with the Ministry of Sport, but more so in collaboration with the Ministry of Education,
Yeah.
to pay people under the umbrella of the TTFA wearing a TTFA uniform to be going into primary schools to introduce the children, to organize coaching, to work with the school coaches to get them better educated and to give them the support and so on and so forth, because this is where the largest number of little boys and girls are on a daily basis.
True. That's very true.
So we have to get them there. Now, if they find themselves in a youth club, great, because we also dealing with the clubs.
Mm-hmm.
We're dealing with the clubs. But how many I live in Arima, how many of the little boys in Arima Boys RC, which is this, let me call that one, which is this school I went to, I passed, as it was then called decades ago, common entrance
That's right. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Arima Boys RC, how many of them belong to a club? You see my point?
True.
So the introduction to organized coaching, the introduction to organized training, the introduction to organized football, we're doing that in the clubs, but we are attacking them, a bad word, we are approaching them in the schools.
Yeah.
Somebody got to be, there must be an organized program to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody got to be paid, bodies got to be paid to go into the schools and do that.
Hmm.
You work that out with the principal.
Yeah. Yeah.
You work that out with the ministry. And it becomes part of certainly not the daily program, but it becomes part of the weekly program.
Yes. Yeah.
And let me tell you this too. Training is something that you have to learn to do. We have national team players who don't know how to train.
Yeah.
They have talent.
Yep.
They're playing for a side. They could score a goal. They could head a ball. Whatever. They have no doubt they could play football, but they don't know how to train. Training properly is something that you have to be introduced to. You have to be educated in that, and you have to learn. In fact, in coaching theory, the ages 7 to 14 are what we call the golden years and the fundamental training years, learning how to train.
Okay.
What is the culture of training?
Yeah.
What are the of good training? What are the habits of good training? How do you approach good training? You learn how to train.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we'll ever be able to escape it, but we could certainly minimize the problems of men getting to elite level and even national team level, and they don't know how to train. They train anyhow. They feel to train. They don't feel to train. What have you? And then you take what you get from that. You take what you get from that. I'll share a little joke with you too. The only player I ever tolerated that from in my whole long career, I've been coaching 35 years. I still coach little children. That's fun. That's my love.
Nice.
The only player I ever tolerated that from was Arnold Dwarika.
Okay. Okay.
I used to still ride him, But at the back of my head here, I would say, you know what, Keith? This guy really don't, this boy, because I known Rarika since he was, I don't know what, 16, 17, whatever it is,
Right.
right? I brought him into Malik and gave him his platform. He did the rest. I gave him his platform and he did the rest. He's the most
Right.
talented player I've ever coached. I diverting a little bit here, right? And when the year that he came in, we won all the titles on offer in the secondary schools league. I mean all, eh? I mean North Zone Intercol, North Zone League, North Zone sorry, National Intercol, National League, most disciplined team, best team, most goals, everything.
Right. Right. Right.
Everything we won, right? And I would tell all the players, because this is the way I coach. As a coach, I don't send a player out on the field if that player doesn't know exactly what is required of him.
Right. Okay.
I'm at pains to explain it. Now I'm saying they always do it,
True.
but my
True.
job is not to do it. My job is to explain what I want done
Yeah.
and to train it. All right. The only player who I would give a jersey and say, all right, go and play. In my whole career, I coach national teams,
Right.
is Arnold Dwarika. Everybody else knows exactly what the tactical role and function is,
Yeah.
and I gave him the frame. Arnold, go and create your game for me. And the rest of the team knew that
Right.
they had to he would go and play. He hated to train, but when match day come, different animal.
Yeah. Okay.
Different animal. That's part of coaching.
Yeah.
Management of the player and knowing what it is I'm dealing with here. I'm dealing with a special player. So I have to tolerate some of that to get what I want on match day, which it is all about, because you don't get your results in training, you get your results in match day on match day,
Agree.
right? But generally, the average player, you got to learn how to train. All right.
Fair.
So I'm
Fair.
saying that, we need to have a program that sends us into the primary school. I'm coming close to the end now. Uh last point, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Last major point. Or second to last major point. I've written an article that will come out very soon on the final round of qualifying that will begin on the 5th of September.
Yeah.
And I discuss a number of different things and pose a few questions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions I pose is, what is the identity of our national team?
Hmm.
That specific team that will be playing on the 5th of September. But I could extend that question to all of our national teams. What is the identity of a Trinidad and Tobago national team? Let me translate that for those who don't necessarily follow football that closely. What do I mean by that? I mean simply this. When a Trinidad and Tobago national team takes the field, what are we to expect? I ain't talking about formation. Formation for me is irrelevant, almost.
Yeah.
Irrelevant. Because formation don't play. Formation don't win or lose.
True. True.
Right?
Mm.
I was a member of the CONCACAF Technical Study Group and the FIFA Study Group, going to World Cups, going to Gold Cups, going to Champions League tournaments, and so on, and analyzing what is happening for technical reports, right? And the formation never bothered me. What I'm more interested in is what is happening on the field of play.
Yeah.
Right? So, and how is this team play? So when I go and I look at, I remember doing the under 20 World Cup in Egypt. Trinidad and Tobago played there.
Mm-hmm.
The only goal we scored in that tournament, Jean-Luc Rochefort. We scored in the opening match against Egypt. We lost 6-1. They had us 1-0, and Jean-Luc Rochefort scored a beautiful goal to equalize Trinidad and Tobago at 1-1. He come through my club.
Right. Okay.
Yes,
Nice.
Santa Rosa. He started in my club, little fella.
Yeah.
Right? As well as his younger brother, of course, Japol, and the older brother, Jovan. right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not my point. The point is, when I go to that tournament and I see Brazil play, well, that was one of the teams I had to analyze and report on. When I go match day one, I see that. Then I'm looking to see the same kind of approach on match day two.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same players. The coach might change the formation.
Mm-hmm.
The tactics, some individual tactics might differ because it's a different opponent or whatever. But there are some broad strokes of the brush that I expect to see in Brazil under 20 from match day one to match day two to match day 7 when they win
Right.
the tournament, which they did. Yes?
Mm. Okay.
When Trinidad and Tobago national teams take the field, I don't know what to expect.
Mm.
Correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
unfortunate, but true. But true.
Yes? And I'm saying that is because Trinidad and Tobago does not have two things or three. The supervisory body, the technical committee, to ensure that there are linkages from under this to under that to under that, all the way up to the senior team in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the broad strokes of the brush, how we play.
Yeah.
I don't care if under 17 playing 4-2-4, long time formation,
Mm-hmm.
and if the top team, World Cup qualifying team, playing 3-4-3, I don't care. That's irrelevant to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I know what I want to see is some similarity, some tactical similarities
Yeah.
in how the under 17s play, how the 20s, like we forget about Olympics, that's under 23, but I'll include them, how the under 23s and the men's team play.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things we did very quickly when I was technical committee chairman, one of the things we did very quickly in collaboration with a young Trinidadian who was a coach in my club. He played for my club too. Now he's a technical director in youth football in the United States, Johan Contasti. Very proud of him.
Yeah.
Johan Contasti. I got in touch very quickly. I had some materials of my own, some writings of my own, and I got in touch with him. He has done
Mm-hmm.
high-level UEFA coaching courses and pro course and all of that now.
Right.
And we quickly got together and we collaborated and we wrote a 75-page document called Trinidad and Tobago Style of Play. What are the elements that we want to see in our national teams? When we have the ball, what we do? When we lose the ball, what we do? What we expect in the defenders? What we expect, that 75 pages. And we distributed it among the coaches that we brought in from the regional technical the regional identification program, the national identity. We brought all of them into a room. Well, he's in the States. Yeah. I and the committee brought them into a room and we explained and we went through them and went through it with them and so on and so forth. We want to see consistency so that we know what to expect from team to team to team. Who you pick is your business. What is your formation is your business.
Mm-hmm.
But because in Trinidad and Tobago, football, TTFA culture, each team is an island unto itself. Nobody can tell me what to do with my team. My team, they don't say it, but my team is my property. And
the old adage, too many cooks spoil the broth.
Right. More so, every man is an island unto himself.
Yeah.
That is perhaps a more appropriate one. Every man or every team is an island unto itself. Okay. But we must have the linkages. Yes? So that a boy, a girl could graduate and if we say, okay, this is how we play.
Mm-hmm.
At under 15, take the boys who are in Aruba now, and we hold to that and we consistently develop it. Then by the time they hit on the 17, 20, under 23 seniors, this is how we play.
Yeah.
So when the players know how we play, and they're in a proper professionalized environment, whether they're playing domestic or foreign-based football, when they come to the coach, now all the coach is saying, listen, this is what we're going to do against this opponent. Let me tell you something. Before the what year was that? I forget. The Korea-Japan World Cup. What was that? 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Before the 2002 Korea-Japan World Cup, Japan and Korea were at war before Blatter told them, hey, listen, share it. They were at war as to who would get it.
Right. Okay.
Right. South Korea approached Jack Warner to send a Caribbean All-Star team to play against 2 games against Korea in Korea. Yes? He called me and said, look, Loy, this is the case. Pick a side and carry them for me. Okay. Right. So what did we do? We dropped a plan quickly. Stuart Charles was my assistant. I said, I want Stuart Charles to be my assistant. Former national coach, Coach of W Connection. We're talking about
Yeah.
back in that day. The 2002 World Cup. That is a football generation ago. Maybe 23 years. A football generation is about 10 years.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, Stuarty, here we're going to do. We pulled together, we asked the national associations across the Caribbean to give us some names, for this position, that position, whatever. We brought people together in Antigua. We had an all-star match. We played, we said, okay, and we picked a squad, and we said, okay, we putting them on a plane, and we go in Korea.
Right.
David Nakid, parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Sport today, was the captain of that team. Yeah? David Nakid was the captain of that team. Stone John was in that team.
Okay.
Ansel Elcock was in that team. Right? A lot of national, because I ain't no fool. I picked a core of Trinidad and Tobago players and surrounded them with players from Jamaica, Cuba, Antigua, whatever. We went there, right? And we had a plan. Right? We came off the plane, right? Almost 24 hours flying with a stopover in Anchorage, Alaska. I'll never forget.
Okay.
Yes, a stopover in Anchorage, Alaska, because we went up in the eastern seaboard, up to the top of Canada, flew across what was still then the Soviet Union, etc. Stopover in Alaska, flew across the Soviet Union and down into Seoul. When we got to the hotel, I said, nobody sleeps. Get your gear. We go in and train. We went straight to the training field, put in a 2-hour session, and then I said, okay, now we're going home and sleep, because that is how you deal with jet lag. That is how you deal with crossing time zones.
Right. Okay.
2 nights later, we played South Korea. We lost 2-0. We played them the second game about 5 or 6 days after we landed. We drew with them 1-1. I remember it well. I'm telling stories and I'm sounding like a old man, which I am. Right? We played them on a lovely Sunday, spring Sunday afternoon in Seoul Olympic Stadium. Had was 60,000 people, and our Caribbean boys draw 1-1 with Korea.
Nice.
Why? Because we went there with a plan, and I told them, listen, all they could play football. We have whatever was the number of training sessions. This is what we're going and doing the training sessions, because I studied Korea. This team going to do this team going to do that. So we're going and train to counter this, and we're going to train when we counter them to do that, and so on. We drew them 1-1. Stone John scored the goal. Naked was the captain on the field. Planning.
Yeah.
Planning. Right? So if we do all of this, when we assemble our teams, we could start. Let me be contradictory. We could start stopping hearing coaches, national coaches, talking about the players ain't fit, and the players can't control the ball, and the players ain't understand this and that, and the players can't defend, and defense is with problem. We will always have individual errors in defense. But if the defenders don't know how to defend, that is a structural problem, not an individual problem.
That is very true. Yeah.
You understand? That's a structural problem. And I don't mean the structure of the back four or whatever. I mean the structure in the education, how we educate the players as they go through the levels. It's not individual.
Yeah.
So, brother, I've talked way longer than Yantida would speak. So I am saying that if we have all the money, then, and these are just the bullet points, I could talk to you about this for 2 hours, for 2 days.
What I for sure is that we will definitely have a second part to this. Yeah.
That is up to you, but these are the bullet points, and I am saying that there's no magic. Right? It's only in Trinidad we'll talk where you always hear they say OBEAH beat science every day. That Trinidad will talk OBEAH beat science. No, if you're scientific in how you proceed with your business, OBEAH could never beat it, and you cannot succeed in football banking on OBEAH.
True.
You understand? You have to plan your business. Let me go back full circle and hush. Where it is we want to go? How
Yeah.
we get in there? What is the flight plan? What track we going and walk? What are the resources we need? Who in charge? And how we holding them accountable? When I was chairman of the technical committee, every month, the national coaches and the national team managers had to, for the 3 months we were there, had to submit a report on what they did for the month. What were the strengths of what they did, what they need, etc., etc. And the technical committee would meet and look at this and say, okay, what we need to do, this is good, what we need, what support you need. Well,
Yeah.
and so you could do that better with accountability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Here, you could lose 45 games and remain coach. And nobody from the level of technical administration is documenting what is happening and tracking what is happening, good and bad, and saying, okay, we need to revise this. We need to change a little bit here. Okay, instead of blah, 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 and make the requisite adjustments to an overall plan. We can't do that if we don't have a plan and we don't have people to implement it and we don't have to the ability to hold them accountable. Last point I will say is this. In the TTFA today, nobody holds the people who are running the association accountable and are going over, are leaving football to the side now and are beginning to enter into politics, I suppose. But it's not politics, it's just administration.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? The elected board of the TTFA makes all the decisions. And whoever is, the power source within the board, these people make the decisions. The membership virtually have no say or have no say at all. There are no membership meetings to say, well, okay, can we get a report on the national senior team World Cup qualification campaign so far that is sent out to the members that the members could look at and make an assessment so they could come back and say, well, we like this, but we don't like that, or what the membership has no input. None. And therefore things unfold and the members cannot hold the people who are acting on their behalf and who are acting on our behalf. We, the people outside of the TTFA, the rank and file citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and let me underline this, to whom every national team and the TTFA belongs.
True.
Is our teams, is our national association. It's not theirs.
Yeah.
Right? They need to be held accountable. And unless people know that they are accountable to some higher authority, then they do what they want or nothing at all. So, look, we travel along with us. I talk about the football, but we have to have proper administration and we have to have proper political control over the administrators. Yeah. And if we don't do that, brother, you know what's going to happen? We're going to continue depending on luck and OBEAH to stumble across a generation of players who might make it. So what did we get? We got a generation in 2006. Latopi at the end of his career, yes. But Latopi and York and Shaka Hislop and this one and that one. And we were lucky that they all came at that particular point in time to help us qualify. But it wasn't an accident because they were in good clubs, etc., 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 etc.
Yeah.
OBEAH do beat science in football. Right? So I will thank you for, gosh boy, a long talk, way beyond what we agreed we would talk about. But
that's fine.
When you get in the flow, and rest assured you could call me back anytime.
Yeah.
I would be willing to speak with you.
Coach, thank you very, very much. And for me who trying to really understand the in and outs of Trinidad and football, this hour, I mean, it was a little more than an hour, but I got so much information from this that it was well worth it. And again, I appreciate your time for this. And I know that the viewers who look at this, who have similar feelings, would really have something to chew on and something to understand and hopefully open their eyes to the business of football, which is what we're feeling in actually.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
thank you very much, coach, and thank you very much for those viewing and still being on. And now I'll stop the recording. But thank you and do enjoy your Saturday.
You too, brother.